Hello there, boxing fans. Apologize for the look, but the power, it seems, here in South Africa is not coming back on for the moment, so I'm using my little inverter battery pack. So the show must go on, as it will this weekend on Saturday in Chicago, when undisputed lightweight champion of the world, Devin "The Dream" Haney, moves up to the junior welterweights or super lightweights and will attempt to become a world champion in two weight divisions. But in front of him will be the Rougarou, the WBC world champion, Regis Prograis, and I think it's not going to be an easy mountain to climb. Stick around and let's break down the fight. Devin Haney, we know, is still undefeated at 30-0 with 15 knockouts, although many people had him losing his last fight against Vasily Lomachenko, which he ended up winning by decision. I think it was a legitimately close fight. I had Lomachenko winning by 2 points. That fight for me worked in two halves, with Haney in the first half of the fight having good success with his straight rights to the body and his rights to the head, because his jab wasn't working well against the southpaw Lomachenko. And then Lomachenko in the second half of the fight, closing the distance and having his success against Devin Haney, fighting brilliantly at times. Now with Regis Prograis, Devin Haney is going to have another southpaw in front of him, and we'll see how he deals with that. Now he has dealt with southpaws before. Jojo Diaz was a southpaw, and he dealt with him relatively well. And Lomachenko gave him fits, especially over that last half of the fight. Now Regis Prograis is 29-1 with 24 knockouts. So Prograis has been a junior welterweight for a long time. He's established at the weight. He's a two-time champion. He was the WBA champion. He lost that in the World Boxing Super Series to Josh Taylor, who was the IBF champion at the time and was for the Ring Magazine title. But he didn't lose by much, fighting Taylor on home ground there in the UK. And that was his only defeat, really. But just like Devin Haney, Regis Prograis also had a sort of a wobble in his last fight. He won a split decision over sort of unheralded opponent Danielito Zorrilla. Now Zorrilla performed much better than everybody thought, and he outboxed Prograis quite a bit there in spots, but he was on the back foot a lot, and that bothered Prograis. And in the end, Prograis got the decision. I think it was a fair decision in my opinion. Zorrilla was just too much on the back foot for my liking, but I think it was a good. The right guy won. But some of you will disagree with me and let me know in the comment section. That's also okay. But now I think Devin Haney has got a serious challenge in front of him on Saturday night, because Regis Prograis is a southpaw like Vasily Lomachenko. He isn't quite that layered, skilled boxer that Lomachenko is. I don't think he's got that good feet that Lomachenko has to get in and out at angles. He's not Lomachenko in that sense of a word. But I do think that Prograis is a bigger man, and I do think that he carries serious power with those 24 knockouts in his 29 wins. So I think Prograis is, in that sense, more of a threat than Lomachenko. I think stylistically, not quite that big of a nightmare, but he's got power. And we've seen Devin Haney before in the past. Against Jojo Diaz, he got nailed. Before that, against Jorge Linares, he got nailed. Even Lomachenko nailed him for a while, and he seemed momentarily buzzed when he did get nailed. To his credit, he did what he had to do to survive and get back on top of a fight quickly. Now we know what Devin Haney does very well. He's got a fantastic jab, and he uses it with great variety. He's sort of like a smaller version of a sort of a lightweight Larry Holmes in that sort of regard. Haney can really work that jab, but the jab is problematic against a southpaw. It didn't work as great, or didn't work at all really against Vasily Lomachenko. It worked to an extent against Jojo Diaz. But if we look at Regis Prograis, he's got very good upper body movement. He's got good herky-jerky head movement. Prograis is a guy that uses a lot of head movement, works his jab, uses a lot of feints, and waits for you to give him opening, and then he nails you with a shot, and he's a good finisher. Once he hurts you, he will go for the kill, and he's still dangerous late, as we saw in his fight against Jose Zepeda. Prograis came on late, and he was winning the whole fight, but he was able to knock out Zepeda in the 11th round. So he carries his power late, and that is a point when Zepeda was sort of staging a little rally there in bits, and then Prograis came and took him out. So he's a good finisher. I think Prograis is a better finisher than Jorge Linares. Is a better, or that version of Linares at least. He's a better finisher than Jojo Diaz. He's a more dynamic fighter, and you can see where Prograis' power is coming from, because he puts everything into his shots when he throws, and he's got these beautiful sort of short, vicious little uppercuts inside. So Devin Haney, it's clear what he has to do. They have the same height, but Haney has got a reach advantage. He's got to keep Prograis there on the outside. And if he gets his jab going and he's got Prograis at the end of a jab, it's the end for Prograis, because then Haney, once he settles in the rhythm behind the jab, is almost impossible to beat. But I suspect his jab's not going to work that well against Regis Prograis, so he's going to have to depend on the straight rights and the looping rights against the southpaw opponent. But he did quite well there in the fight with Lomachenko until Lomachenko got at the right distance. So I think that's going to be Devin Haney's game plan. But whereas he pushed Lomachenko back, I'm not quite sure he's going to do that to Regis Prograis. And what we saw in the Danielito Zorrilla fight is a guy that is on the back foot, punches and moves around a lot, that forces Prograis to chase after him. That gives Prograis trouble. A guy that sticks and moves, that's not the kind of guy that Prograis likes to fight. If we saw the Josh Taylor fight, Taylor used a lot of movement as well in that fight, along with rapid fire combinations, and that's what got him over the hill there against Prograis then. So Haney, I think for him, he's going to have to maybe move side to side, and he'll have to fight on the fly against Prograis. I don't think he can move Prograis back. I don't think he can really hurt Prograis. Haney is not a big puncher, that we know as well, because he's got enough on his shots to keep the people honest, but I can't see him hurting Prograis and knocking him out. He couldn't do that with Lomachenko, he couldn't do that with any of his top level opponents, not even George Kambosos. So I can't see Haney going out there and making a statement and blowing Prograis out. He's going to have to outbox him and win this fight on points. And just as much, I can't see Prograis winning this fight on points, or it's hard for me to see that, bar a couple of knockdowns. He's going to have to go after Devin Haney. He's going to have to knock him out. And I think the danger with Prograis is that he, as I've said, he doesn't look good chasing. He sort of waits for you he likes to counter, and then he works off a counter, and up until then he uses his jab. So Prograis is going to need to jab Haney to the chest, jab him where he can jab him, but I think he's going to have to be more aggressive here. If he continues on wait for Haney to make a mistake and then work off those mistakes, he could catch him and he could finish him, but he's most probably going to end up losing too many rounds, losing all those close rounds and losing the decision. So I think Prograis is going to have to fight a bit more like he used to fight earlier in his career, and he's going to have to go after Devin Haney. So I think this is the biggest threat to Devin Haney in a long time, because he's facing a guy that's big, that's as tall as him with less reach, but he's fighting a natural junior welterweight. Now we've got to see, that's a big question mark, how Devin Haney is going to deal with the rise up in weight, because as he's been killing himself making lightweight, if you're killing yourself making weight, that can affect your susceptibility to punches. So maybe Devin Haney's chin will be better this time out at the higher weight. That could be a possibility. But I don't think Haney is going to have more power at the higher weight. I doubt that. So maybe his chin is going to be better. Maybe Prograis won't have the layers of skill to get him in trouble and get in that position and take him out. But what I'm thinking is Linares, who was past his best, gave him a buzz there. So did Jojo Diaz, just briefly. So did Lomachenko. So Lomachenko is a next level sort of elite talent, although he's older now, although he's a smaller man. But I think Prograis is better than Jojo Diaz, and I think he's better than that version of Linares. So I think it's highly. I don't think Devin Haney is going to stay away for 12 rounds. I think Prograis is going to hurt him there at a stage, and I think the Danielito Zorrilla fight, you shouldn't read too much into it, because we've seen it so many times before. The elite fighter faces somebody who shouldn't have a chance to win, and then they just barely get over the finish line or even lose an upset. We've seen it many times. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, way back then, James Toney and Dave Tiberi and those sort of fights. And I think that was that sort of fight maybe for Regis Prograis. I won't read too much into a Danielito Zorrilla fight. I think it's going to be a different Prograis. I think it's going to be a much more motivated Prograis. I think it's going to be an on-point Prograis that shows up on Saturday night. Devin Haney, mentally, we know he's strong. He's going to show up. He's going to give his best. And I don't think he's going to have quite the stylistic nightmare that he had with Lomachenko, but he's not going to have an easy guy to fight. Prograis does present his difficulties. So what do I think is going to happen? I think the consensus opinion is Devin Haney is just going to be too young, too sharp, have too much momentum for Prograis, and is going to use his reach to box his way to a competitive decision win. That is the wisdom, and that's where the odds are going towards. But if I was a gambling man, and I'm not a gambling man, but for the purposes of this channel, I'm going to gamble here, and I'm going to go for Prograis. I've picked Regis Prograis before against Josh Taylor. That didn't work out. I'm going to take a chance on him again. I do think Regis Prograis can get through to Devin Haney if he's more aggressive, if he puts pressure, if he gets in that right kill zone where Lomachenko was. And I think if he nails Devin Haney, he's going to hurt him, because I think he's a better puncher than Lomachenko, Jojo Diaz, because of the weight. It was a higher weight, and Linares. So I think Regis Prograis is possibly the best puncher that Devin Haney has faced, and I think he's going to nail him at some point, and I think he's going to buzz him and hurt him. And I think this time Devin Haney is not going to be able to get out of trouble, and I think Regis Prograis is going to finish him. So I'm going to go with Regis Prograis to spring the upset and stop Devin Haney in 11 rounds. Let's see if I have egg on my face afterwards. This is all in fun, and it's for discussion. If you guys watch this far, please remember to punch that like button. That really helps a lot. Please tell me in the comment section, what do you think? How do you see the fight going, and why? And thank you to everybody who has subscribed. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. I'll greatly appreciate that. And until we see each other again from a dark Western Cape in South Africa, remember to keep those hands up.